Welcome to the Car Art channel. Is the BYD Sealion 7 a good car? The BYD Sealion 7 is a roomy electric SUV with sporty looks, impressive specs, and a very reasonable price tag on paper, a brilliant alternative to electric vehicles such as the Tesla Model Y, Kia EV6 or Peugeot E3008. BYD's models can be a bit hit and miss, though. The Seal and Dolphin are really good electric cars, but the Sealion plug-in hybrid SUV is rather disappointing. The Sealion 7 is a mixed bag. It's not as outwardly brilliant as the Seal, but it's far better than the Sealion and a credible alternative to the aforementioned Tesla. The Sealion 7 gets off to a reasonable start because while it's not exactly handsome, it's a bit less anonymous than the Sealion. BYD's signature headlight design features C-shaped LEDs, sat above a chunky bumper design with big air intakes. A sleek, sloping roofline trails rearward to a tailgate spoiler and a full-width rear light bar. Inside, things are a bit less lukewarm. It's genuinely nice inside, with posh-feeling materials swaddling every surface and an interesting dashboard design covered in flowing lines. There's a huge 15.6-inch infotainment screen with BYD's trademark rotating party trick. This is cool the first few times, but is likely to be relegated to gimmick status after you've shown your mates. BYD Sealion 7, electric range, battery, and charging data. Range, 283 to 312 miles, battery size, 82.5 kWh/91.3 kWh, max charge speed, 150 kilowatts/230 kilowatts, charge time DC, 32 minutes, 10 to 80%, 150 kilowatts/24 minutes, 10 to 80%, 230 kilowatts, charge port location, right side rear, power outputs, 313 horsepower/530 horsepower. There are some materials that feel a little bit cheap considering that the Sealion 7 isn't a budget machine, but overall it feels quite premium even if it's lacking the wow factor of a Peugeot E3008. No such caveats when it comes to the space on offer, though. The front seats are big, squashy, and comfortable, and the storage solutions for smaller items are useful, but the back seats are huge, so rear passengers will be able to stretch out as much as they'd like. You won't have any issues fitting lanky teens or bulky child seats back here, though the middle seat backrest is quite uncomfortable, so it's certainly better for two people. At 520 liters in capacity, boot space can't hold a candle to the Tesla Model Y, but it's pretty good compared with most other alternatives. There's a deep underfloor storage compartment and even a useful frunk where you'd find the engine on a combustion-powered car. The Sealion 7 offers a choice of two large battery packs, with a claimed range of between 283 to 312 miles. That sounds good on paper, but during our testing we saw really poor efficiency, which would suggest that even the larger battery will only return a figure in the 200s. Not so good. It is powerful, though, and the motors are smooth and silent, so getting up to speed on the motorway is easy. It's a shame that the rest of the car isn't quite as refined. There's a lot of wind noise and tire roar. Worse still, the Sealion 7's suspension feels very unsettled. It bounces a lot over bumps, and you can feel the body moving long after you've passed a road imperfection. It's like being in a rather unstable ship at sea. On top of this, twitchy and hyperactive steering means it's not even much fun to drive down a twisting B road, which is a shame. The Sealion 7 is an interesting left-field choice if you value technology and passenger space, but the alternatives all have more enticing driving dynamics and better range, for less cash. Interested? Check out the latest BYD deals available through CarWow. You can also browse used BYDs from our network of trusted dealers, and when it's time to sell your current car, CarWow can help with that, too. How much is the BYD Sealion 7? The BYD Sealion 7 has a RRP range of £47,000 to £59,000. However, with CarWow you can save on average £3,287. Prices start at £44,145 if paying cash. Monthly payments start at £422. The price of a used BYD Sealion 7 on CarWow starts at £39,995. Performance and drive comfort. The BYD Sealion 7 is easy to drive around town thanks to its smooth electric motors. The throttle is nicely calibrated so it's easy to pull away smoothly, unlike many EVs that can be a bit jumpy as soon as you touch the pedal. The brakes are similarly smooth with lots of travel that makes them easy to judge. Again, many electric cars have grabby brakes that are difficult to get to grips with. Though regenerative braking isn't particularly strong and there's no one-pedal system, so you always need the brakes to come to a stop. Unfortunately, the suspension doesn't deal with bumps too well, so you're jostled about a bit, likely to be even more of a problem on Britain's broken roads than it was on our relatively smooth route around Frankfurt. You sit very high, which means visibility is good out of the front, but rear visibility is poor because of chunky pillars and a small rear window. You do at least get some cameras that cover your blind spots to make maneuvering easier. On the motorway, while it's fine to drive around town, the BYD Sealion feels more compromised at high speeds. As soon as you get up to about 60 miles per hour, there's a lot of wind noise rushing around the front pillars, and if you sit in the back, there's a lot of tire roar to contend with. You also notice a deep, bassy boom over bumps, which also tend to send a judder through the cabin. At least its powerful motors mean that motorway slip roads and overtakes are a breeze. EVs typically run out of puff at higher speeds, but squeeze the throttle at 60 miles per hour and you get a noticeable surge to 70 miles per hour, which is welcome. Annoyingly, the steering is rather hyperactive, with the car reacting to tiny inputs, which means you feel like you're constantly adjusting to stay centered in your lane. Coupled with the intrusive assistance technology, it means you can never quite relax into a long drive on a twisty road. Out in the countryside, the disappointing suspension causes some issues again, because uneven roads unsettle the car quite a bit, which doesn't give you much confidence to enjoy a twisty road. It doesn't help that you sit so high, because you feel the car's body leaning more than you would if you could sit a bit lower. The brakes are less intuitive at higher speeds too, because there's not much feedback through the pedal. So you're not totally sure how much pressure you're applying, making smooth progress a bit of a guessing game. If you want an electric SUV with more twisty road appeal, the Ford Mustang Mach-E is a good place to start. Space and practicality. Really spacious interior and a useful boot, though the driving position isn't great. Space up front is good, you don't feel too cramped, but the BYD Sealion 7 doesn't feel intimidatingly large on the road either. The only real complaint is that you sit very high, even in the seat's lowest setting, so finding the ideal driving position can be tricky. Even though the steering wheel has quite a bit of adjustment, storage is good, the door bins will fit a small bottle and some odds and ends. And there are 2 cup holders with an adjustable floor to help grab longer bottles. The space under the armrest is pretty big, and there's another area beneath the center console to hide a small bag. Interior style, infotainment and accessories, great onboard technology, but design and material quality isn't quite as good as similarly priced alternatives. First impressions are pretty good when you jump inside the BYD Sealion 7. Everything looks fairly premium and you get a big infotainment display in the center of the dashboard. That is the highlight. It's a 15.6-inch display with pin-sharp graphics and a fast processor that makes it tablet quick to use. Navigating between menus is fairly logical, and the voice activation system works flawlessly. It also gets the BYD signature feature that lets you rotate it between horizontal and vertical. You get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay for seamless smartphone linking. There's a nifty 2-phone wireless charging pad with a cooling vent to prevent overheating, and the Dynaudio sound system is fantastic. Once you start to really look around, though, you start to notice where the Sealion 7 is not quite up to the standard of a circa £55,000 car, as we tested the top-spec version. It's not bad for the most part, but there are some shiny, cheap-feeling plastics, and some crisscrossing materials and designs that make it look a bit fussy. A BMW 92 feels posher inside, a Peugeot E3008 is more characterful, and the Lexus RZ feels more solid. The entry-level model is likely to feel like better value, electric range, charging and tax. You have a choice of 2 battery and motor options in the BYD Sealion 7. The comfort and design trims come with an 82.5 kWh battery, paired to a single and dual motor setup respectively. Top-spec excellence models get the dual motor, all-wheel drive system with a larger 91.3 kWh battery. As a result, official range figures sit at 300 miles for comfort models, 283 miles for the design trim, and 312 miles in the excellence. Long-range versions of alternatives promise more range, such as the Peugeot E3008, 422 miles, and Tesla Model Y, 373 miles. Though the entry-level battery's claimed figure is higher than other equivalent models, however, during our test in the top-spec, big battery model, we saw very poor economy. Our route included some high-speed autobahn sections that would have made this worse than you'd expect to see in typical UK driving, but even taking that into consideration, a real-world range estimate wouldn't be much above 200 miles, which is a long way off the claimed figure. We'll put this to the test again in the UK soon to get an accurate figure over a longer period of time. All versions get 11 kilowatts AC charging, which is useful if you have access to these speeds. Most EVs are limited to around 7 kilowatts, as this is what most home chargers output. Fast charging speeds are 150 kilowatts for comfort and design models, which gives you a pretty average 32 minutes to go from 10 to 80%. More impressive is the Excellence trim's larger battery, which can hit 230 kilowatts, resulting in a very respectable 24 minutes from 10 to 80%.